information that he brought forth from translations from the firing of some cuneiform tablets in the library of Ashurbanipal way back when. And so it's very, very close. And so as Janet and I, we have some exposition where we tell you what's happening, and then tablet by tablet we read directly from the Lost Book of Enki. And what's happening to me, because I've gone over this material, I started this book, maybe 12 years ago, I start to understand it more and more and more deeply, and things I just skipped over as being inconsequential. Now, with the kind of greater knowledge that we have, the stuff that Michael Tellinger and Michael Cremo have brought us, we can really put this together in a way that's never before. So as Janet and I read to you, we're discovering things too. Has that been your experience too, Janet?
Of course. Every day is a learning experience, and so this is a huge learning curve. What happened? What's the true history of humanity, and is there ever going to be the truth? And it's all kind of subjective through the eyes of the person perceiving it. So what kind of reality, what kind of truth can we find in the midst of all this that will work best for the totality of humanity? That's, for me, the important thing. I came from a very religious, Christian religious background, and everybody would argue about the little details of the Bible and who had the right way and the right path and the right religion, and so that is part of the Godspell.
Yeah, we'll see that the Bible is based on this story, and that the scholars who wrote up the Old Testament while they were in Babylon in exile from Jerusalem were dealing with the story that we're now going through in the Lost Book of Enki, and they were trying to make it all fit within the purview of a single great God, Yahweh, who was just one of these guys. He was the commander of the gold mining expedition to Earth, and make that sort of a national God of the area of Canaan that they controlled.
Right, and then the gods would change over time based on the ages of the zodiac, the span of time, space, constellations, and so it's very complex. But let's let's go to today's episode. Yeah,
just to bring you the sequence, just so that you get that, and you can always go back and check the prior episodes to just click through on this site, but.
AnkiSpeaks.com.
Thank you, honey. Yes. So the Nibirans came here 450 to 400,000 years ago to gold mine, to get gold to ship back to their planet. And the commander of the transshipment base on Mars was a guy named Marduk, who at one point had been the pretender to the throne of Nibiru, but now here he was with his dad, the scientist Enki, on Earth. And when Mars base got ruined because Nibiru came through, or its Lagrange points came through, but in any case, the base got ruined. Marduk was out of a job, and we saw last time that was all about how Enki, the father, the great scientist, divided up the heavens into celestial time, so that there was 12 equal parts. And he said, when Earth gets underneath the constellation of the Ram, and the Ram is on the horizon there, and it's going to be your turn to rule. Looks like you don't get to be king of Nibiru, but at least you'll rule on Earth. And he promised that to Marduk. So that was what happened last time. That was, and we finished the 7th tablet. Now, in the south of Africa, from Mozambique to Botswana, Zimbabwe, and beyond, were the descendants of Adamu. Now, Adamu was the male in the breeding pair of Tiamat and Adama that Enki had fomented a mutiny by the Nibirans that were working in the mines, and he used that as an excuse to create this slave race, and the mating pair that he and his son Ningishzidda and his partner Nimma had created was Adamu, and Adamu and Tiamat bred hundreds of thousands, and their descendants made more descendants, and so forth. So they were.
Adama and Tiamat. Adamu and Tiamat were basically Adam and Eve, correct?
That's right. That was Adam and Eve, but that was just the first translation. And these people really, really worked the whole south of Africa. It was amazing. If you ever look at the work that Michael Tellinger did, you can actually see where these workings were. And
well, they had a city.
Yeah, they had. It's what Michael says is a quote: "The extended ancient settlement area covers an area much larger than modern Johannesburg, more than 500,000 square kilometers. The Nibirans and their Adamite slaves, that is the descendants of Adam and Tiamat, built circles of stone. They lined these circles of stone with a never-ending web over 500 kilometers of roads and connecting channels that were lined on both sides with, again, over 500 million large, iron-rich, magnetically charged stones. And these stones climb hills that are way too steep for animals. So what Enki and these slaves, servants, whatever you want to call them, did is they made this whole way of generating electricity using the kind of principles that Tesla later reintroduced to us. So they had this going. The Nibirans and their hybrid laborers in South Africa sent this capacitated energy generated by sound along the connecting lanes. They moved the goods with water and, this is a quote, a levitation device that tapped into the magnetic content of the stones in the same way that modern trains float above their electromagnetic tracks. And so this helps them lift things. And we know what they were. What was it, honey?
Oh, I just wanted to interject when we're getting the size of this city. Johannesburg has 3.8 million people, so that was based on a couple years ago, so it's probably more, right? So this is a huge city.
Oh, it's absolutely huge. When you see it from a satellite picture, it blows your mind. The crew down there used a floating substance. It was monoatomic gold, the white powder, but the same stuff that they were using to ship back to Nibiru for their atmosphere. The roads connected the pits that they had there, where they leached the gold. There was houses, there was terraces, there were workstations, there were ceremonial centers. 3 of South African cities that contained over 11,000 million circular stone ruins covered 10,000 kilometers. This is all stuff from Michael Tellinger, but 70,000 years ago, something really heavy happened. Disaster in the form of poisonous gas and dust swept over the ancient African gold mining complex. The survivors fled Africa, and these refugees were the early Bantu, and they were named after Antu, which is King Anu's wife. The early Bantu fled from Africa, got it, and the ones that survived this poisonous volcano, and they made it to India. And this was the Lake Toba explosion on Sumatra. The prevailing winds from the supervolcano carried most of the dust and poisonous gases westwards toward eastern and southern Africa, and it caused a mini ice age. And the areas most affected were South Africa, where the first civilization lived. But the refugees carried the memories of the earth-moving equipment, the astronomy, the metallurgy, the writing, the architecture, the energy generation, the aircraft, the weaponry of the Nibirans. They didn't know how to make it, but the wise people of the Zulu nation have all recounted these tales from their ancestors. So, Janet,
well, okay, I just wanted to interject. While you were talking about 70,000 years ago, I kind of Googled what happened 70,000 years ago, and there's an article that came up, how human beings almost vanished from the earth, 70,000 BC. So there's something, I'll have to research this later, but there's some correlation with what Tellinger was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's great. So
Yeah.
So Adapa, Enki's smart son, he bossed the Earthlings. Adapa and
Oh no, we've got to take. We seem to have skipped something in the story here.
Okay, wait, let's go back.
Yeah. So what we skipped is the fact that the kind of humans, the Homo erectus, Homo sapien humans that were working the mines, were leveled by Enki when Enlil was demanding less slaves and smarter ones, and so Enki started making it with the pretty girls, and then with their daughters, and their daughters' prettiest daughters, and so forth. And pretty soon, he was creating this whole race of super enhanced, he thought, human beings. And the first one that he did was his kid, Adapa, and this is who today's story is about. They had a girl, Titi, and Damkina and Nimab both really liked Titi and taught her all kinds of women things, but Enki just doted on Adapa. So this is the second coming, so to speak. Enki has created this son, and he decides he's going to tutor him. He's going to give him all the knowledge and just see how smart can this guy get. And so now Janet will take on the rest of the story from here.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about Adapa, Enki's smart son, who bossed Earthlings. So Adapa and Titi, Enki's son and daughter, mated, and Titi bore the twins Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel.
Yeah, we will have another story about them next time.
We'll talk about Cain and Abel down the line. The first Adapite humans.
They're called Adapites.
Adapites, yeah.
And this is so the descendants of Adapa, this is the special son of Enki, are called the Adapites. The descendants of the earlier human, Adam, are called the Adamites.
So these are humans with far more Anunnaki DNA due to Enki's genetic infusion, which he literally the second round, or the first, he made it. He kept mating with human females.
Successive generations.
And so, anyway, there's a whole story on eventually, well, you had blue eyes. Continued mating. Originally, they were dark eyes, and then the variations started coming about. So that's another story. Nibirian genes relative to Erectus, his genetic infusion with creating Nibirian genes, more Nibirian genes relative to Erectus genes than their mothers. The Adamite girls, Enki impregnated. So Enki was having a lot of fun. Enki schooled his clandestine son, Adapa. He ordered Adapa to teach his descendants.
Slow down, honey.
He ordered Adapa to teach his descendants, the enhanced Earthlings, to run farms and to have herds and create estates. And Enki brought more Earthlings from Africa to Sumer for Adapa to train for the mission bosses' homes and facilities. So they started to create a whole civilization, a whole global system.
And they brought them up to Mesopotamia.
So Adapa worked and studied and pondered. He learned the Nibirans ate the bread of life and drank the water of life to live hundreds of thousands of years. So these are secrets to immortality.
That's right. He well, it looked like immortality to Adapa because, but we don't know if it was really just extreme longevity or not. But he could see that they were drinking this stuff and eating this stuff, and they were living thousands of years.
Yeah. So without these substances, he died in a mere thousand of years. So even back then, human beings lived hundreds, if not thousands of years. But he begged Enki for the bread and water. Secret elixir for immortality. He wanted to become immortal too, or at least having the life expectancies of the Anunnaki.
Mm-hmm.
So Adapa was a busybody in charge of the services for which the primitive workers were brought over to the Eden. He supervised bakers, assured water supplies, oversaw fishing for Erdu and tended offerings.
Yeah, I understand. This guy ran everything for Enki. All the coordination. He became like the CEO, and Enki just sort of let him go and let him do it. He was so smart.
So Enki used a device that changed and reversed the wind that blew down the Persian Gulf to blow Adapa north in a sailboat, or he sent Adapa in a rocket. What was going on there?
Okay, so what happened is Enki knew how, because of the arrays that he had of energy stored in capacitors, he was able to create, like we do with HAARP, bounce signals off the ionosphere. And what he did was he changed the wind and blew Adapa in the direction, on a sailboat, in the direction he wanted him to go. And this is a technology that Enki had not shared with Enlil. And it seemed like Adapa was in on this, and so a spy sees of Enlil's. He's blowing up from Africa. He's blowing up toward Mesopotamia, up the Persian Gulf, or up the Red Sea. And
the spy told Enlil he saw Adapa speeding north. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Okay.
To the north toward Mesopotamia.
Towards Mesopotamia. So.
Okay. So
here the story continues.
Okay.
Are we going to read some from the book at all?
No, we're going to get to the book, honey.
Okay, we'll get to the book. Go ahead, Dick.
On Nibiru, and King Anu basically is going to say no to Adapa's immortality. Enlil beamed Anu on Nibiru. Enki changed Gulf weather to blow Adapa south. That's what he said. Anu sent his vizier, Ilabrat, to Earth to go get Adapa. Enki gave Ilabrat Adapa and sent his two unmarried Earthborn sons, Ningishzidda, who'd helped him with the genetics, and Dumuzi, his younger son, with Adapa. And he sent them all to meet the grandfather, Anu, and perhaps even find Nibiru brides there. And we're going to go read that in detail in the book. On Nibiru, King Anu asked Adapa, "Why did Enki change the wind, and how come he sent you the direction you were going on the Gulf?" Ningishzidda slipped Anu a sealed tablet from Enki. Enki's tablet said he wanted Adapa to breed more enhanced Earthlings, but he confessed that he was the father of Adapa and of Titi, and he had them with Earthlings, and they were all, these are with Earthlings that had already descended from Adamu and Tiamat. In other words, he already told the truth. Ningishzidda already knew that from Adapa's DNA. He already figured out that Enki was the father of Adapa and Titi. Enki asked Anu, and this is really important, to send Adapa back to begat more hybrids and make more civilized humans. But don't give him, Enki said, food or elixir, the ones that the bread of life and the manna from heavens, the water of life, that would lengthen their lives. So the Earthlings that were descended from both Adam and Adapa, Anu knew, descended from him, from Anu as well. Enki and Ningishzidda, that's Anu's son and his son's son, via their seed has passed Anu's genes to all of us Earthlings too. And this is mixed with DNA erectus. We are an illegal, as far as they were concerned, but civilized species, and we all have the genes of Anu. Now, Enki wanted to deny Earthlings the seemingly eternal lifespan that the Nibirans had.
Yeah, that's a mystery.
And so, and this is part of why we are now, we understand, from Alfred Weber, quarantined on Earth.
Can we talk about that just a second before we go on
Sure.
to the next thing? Okay.
We're almost.
Okay, you finish this and then we'll
Okay, this is, so I'm just going to finish this, and then I'm going to give you the mic for just a minute. So Ningishzidda basically took Adapa plus seeds back to Earth. Anu gave Ningishzidda grain seeds and told him to take them and to take Adapa back to Earth. And his instructions were Adapa is to learn to teach, and with Enki, teach all the teachers of human beings. And so they had Nibiru, he had Dumuzi stay back to learn animal husbandry. And before we read from the book, Janet has a few words.
Yeah. Hi. We're going to take a commercial break. The mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're not sure exactly what was going on, and we're still investigating this, and if anybody out there has any ideas on why did Anu deny the water of life?
I think I know.
What do you think, honey?
I believe that he realized that his successor, Anu's successor, had to be Enlil, his official heir, and that if he were going to empower the line of Adapa, that would be the line of Enki, which he would be building force, and he feared an invasion by ultimately by Marduk and the humans, the hybrids, and so that this was to keep the hybrids from ever organizing behind Marduk and taking over. I think that's the way Anu thought.
No, I
Nibiru.
think the tablet was saying, and I've got to find the text, exact text, but that Enki asked Anu to deny Adapa, the food or elixir, the bread of life.
That's right. That's definitely what it said. But what I'm saying is, I think it was some kind of a, it's like the Democrats and Republicans in the Congress, some kind of deal that Enki had to make with Enlil in order to allow this trip. And we will see what the Lost Book of Enki says in detail about how it is that Adapa is being sent with this strange instruction: don't let him live as long as we do.
And then there's another interesting thing that you pointed out, that these Earthlings are now descended from Anu himself. So now he has a vested interest in his lineage continuing. And if you really think about what was going on for the Anunnaki at that time, they were losing ground. Genetically they were becoming infertile. Their planet had doused with too much radiation or something.
Yes, that's right.
And so this was much like we see today in today's alien literature, how the Greys are coming in and creating hybrid species with humans. This was the original hybrid program. And while Anu might not have been conscious about it initially, that it was being done, or maybe even it was kind of good cop, bad cop, said it was an illegal species and don't do it, this is actually the way that their species survived. And so the Anunnaki are here. There's only, maybe, I don't know how many are all together on Nibiru and Earth, but on Earth there were only about 1,000 pure gods and goddesses, Anunnaki, and so this is the way that their species survives. So, okay, so now we're going to go into reading. We're
reading from the 8th tablet of the Lost Book of Enki, and Jen and I will take turns reading.
Okay, where did you want me to start?
See, these little, all of those.
Okay, so in the 8th tablet, so
this is the king of Anu saying this.
Let Adapa, the earthling, to Nibiru be brought. So did Anu his decision declare. By the decision, Enlil was not pleased. Whoever this would have thought, that by a primitive worker fashioning like us the being would become, with knowledge endowed between heaven and earth will travel. On Nibiru the waters of long life he will drink, the food of long life eat. Like one of us Anunnaki shall the one of earth become. So was Enlil to Enki and the other leaders saying. By the decision of Anu, Enki too was not pleased. Sullen was his face after Anu had spoken. After Enlil had spoken, with Enlil his brother, Enki agreed. Indeed, who of this would have thought? So to the others did Enki say. The brothers sat and contemplated. Nimma with them also was deliberating. The command of Anu cannot be avoided to them, she said. Let Adapa by our young ones to Nibiru be accompanied. his fright to diminish, to Anu things explain. So did Enki to the others say, let Ningishzidda and Dumuzi his companions be. By the way, Nibiru for the first time with their eyes also see. By Nim was the suggestion favored, our young ones on earth born of Nibiru are forgetting its life cycles by those of earth are overwhelmed. Let the two sons of Enki, as yet unmarried, to Nibiru also travel. Perchance brides there for themselves shall they find. When the next celestial chamber from Nibiru did arrive in Sipar, Habrat, a vizier of Anu, from the chamber stepped off. I have come to fetch the earthling Adapa. So to the leaders he said. The leaders to Ilabrat Adapa presented. Titi and her sons to him they also showed. Indeed, in our image and after our likeness they are, so that Ilabrat say. To Ilabrat, Ningishzidda and Dumuzi, sons of Enki, were presented. To accompany Adapa on his journey they have been selected. To him Enki said, Anu, his grandchildren to see will be pleased. So did Ilabrat say.
To hear instructions, Enki Adapa to him summoned. To Adapa thus he said, Adapa, to Nibiru, the planet where we had come, you will be going. Before Anu our king, you will come. To his majesty you will be presented, and before him you shall bow. Speak only when asked to questions, short answers give. New clothing you'll be given, the new garments put on. A bread on earth not found, they to you will give. The bread is death, don't eat it. In a chalice, an elixir to drink they'll give to you. The elixir is death, do not drink. With you, Ningishzidda and Dumuzi, my sons, will journey. To their words hearken, and then you'll live. So did Enki Adapa instruct. This I shall remember, Adapa said. Enki, Ningishzidda and Dumuzi summoned. To them a blessing and advice he gave. Before Anu the king, my father, you're coming. To him you shall bow and homage pay. By princes and nobles do not be coward. Of them you are the equals. To bring Adapa back to earth is your mission. By Nibiru's delights don't be charmed. This we shall remember, Ningishzidda said, and Dumuzi said it too. His younger son, Dumuzi, Enki embraced. On his forehead he kissed him. The wise one, Ningishzidda, Enki embraced. On the forehead he kissed him. A sealed tablet in the hand of Ningishzidda he unseen placed. To my father, Anu, this tablet in secret you shall give. So did Enki to Ningishzidda say.
Then, too, with Adapa to Sipar departed. To the place of the celestial chariots they went. To Ilabrat, Anu's Visier, the three of them themselves presented. To Ningishzidda and Dumuzi the garb of Igigi was given. Like celestial eagles they were dressed.
Igigi means astronaut corps.
As for Adapa, his unkempt hair was shaven. A helmet as that of an eagle he was given. Instead of his loincloth, a tight-fitting vestment he was made to wear. Between Ningishzidda and Dumuzi, inside that which ascends, he was placed. When the signal was given, the celestial chariot roared and shuddered. In fright did Adapa cower and cry out, "The eagle without wings is soaring!" Upon his side, Ningishzidda and Dumuzi, their arms placed, with soothing words they them calmed. With 1 league aloft they were borne. Upon the earth they glanced out. Its lands they saw, by seas and oceans into parts separated. When 2 leagues aloft they were, the ocean to a tub grew smaller. The land was the size of a basket. When 3 leagues aloft they were, again they cast a glance whence they had departed. The earth was now as a small ball, by a sea of darkness in the vastness swallowed. Once again Adapa agitated was. He cowered and cried out. "Take me back!" he shouted. Ningishzidda, on his hand on the neck of Adapa, put, "In an instant was Adapa quiet."
So this, of course, is it comes down in the Bible to the ascent of Ezekiel to heaven. And if you look at our website with www.enkispeaks.com, you'll see some artist rendition of this incredible.
Are you saying that Ezekiel was Adapa?
I'm saying that the same archetypes were repeated again and again in human history, and that it's difficult to understand whether the historians who 400 years after the events, 4,000 years after, whatever, 400 years after the events in whatever it was, 600 years actually, in Babylon, trying to put together the story. It's the same story. It's the identical story, step by step by step. When you look at some of the scientific literature, you see where scholars have compared this. It's the same story.
Yeah, where they're going into space and the Earth gets smaller and smaller, and you have a primitive person trying to describe what's happening when they're being taken into space, and this happens over and over.
It's not that he's a primitive person, it's just that the metaphors that he has available and the experiences he has to use as similes are just those within his experience. And so that a celestial chariot is a rocket ship, of course. Okay.
All right.
So I just want you to see that we're, as Enki says, the past, the future shall be. We keep doing the same stories in many, many ways. Okay. So with Ilibrat to the palace, Ningishzidda, Dumuzi, and Adapa were taken to be washed and perfumed with oils. Did you already read this part yet? No. I see. I see. Okay. Oh, so first when he landed. Oh boy! I mean, this was such a big deal. Everybody was curious. The children of Enki on Earthborn to see, even more to an earthling to encounter. A being from another world on Nibiru has arrived. So were the crowds shouting. Okay, there we go.
Okay, with Ilibrat to the palace, they were taken to be washed and with perfumed oils anointed. Fresh and befitting garments they were given. Heeding Enki's word, Adapa the new clothing did put on. In the palace, nobles and heroes milled about. In the throne room, princes and counselors gathered. To the throne room by Ilibrat they were led, Adapa behind him, then the 2 sons of Enki. In the throne room before Anu, the king, they bowed. From his throne, Anu stepped forward.
My grandsons, he cried
out. He hugged Dumuzi, he hugged Ningishzidda. With tears in his eyes, he embraced them, he kissed them. To the right, Dumuzi, he bade to be seated. On his left, Ningishzidda sat. Then Ilibrat to Anu, the earthling, Adapa presented. Does he our speech understand? Anu, the king of Ilibrat, inquired.
Indeed he does, my lord Enki. My lord Enki has taught him.
Ilibrat so answered.
Come hither.
Anu to Adapa said.
What's your name? What's your occupation?
Forward Adapa stepped. Again he bowed.
Adapa is my name. Of the lord Enki, a servant.
So did Adapa in words speak. His speaking great amazement was causing. A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained, Anu declared. A wonder of wonder on earth has been attained. All the assembled shouted. Let there a celebration be. Let our guests thus welcome, Anu was saying. To the banquet room, Anu, all who were assembled, led. To the laden tables he happily gestured. At the laden tables, bread and Nibiru, Adapa, was offered. He did not eat it. At the laden tables, elixir of Nibiru, Adapa, was offered. He did not drink it. By this, Anu was puzzled, was offended. Why has Enki to Nibiru, this ill-mannered earthling, sent to him the celestial ways?
Come now, Adapa, come now. Why did you neither eat nor drink our hospitality? Why did you reject our hospitality?
My master, the Lord Enki, commanded me, the bread do not eat, the elixir do not drink. So did Adapa, the king, Anu, answer.
How odd is this thing?
Anu was saying.
For what has Enki, from an earthling, our food and elixir prevented?
He asked Illibrat. He asked Dumuzi. Illibrat the answer knew not. Dumuzi could not explain. He asked Ningishzidda. Perchance in this lies the answer. Ningishzidda to Anu said, the secret tablet that he carried hidden to earth, Anu the king he then gave. Puzzled was Anu. Anu was concerned. To his private chamber he went, the tablet to decipher.
Keep going.
Now this is the account of Adapa, of civilized mankind, the progenitor, and how by his sons Cain and Abel satiation on earth was started. In his private chamber, Anu, the tablet seal broken open. Into the scanner, the tablet he inserted, its message from Enki to decipher.
Adapa, by my seed to an earthling woman was born. So did the message from Enki say. Likewise was Titi by another earthling woman of my seed conceived. With wisdom and speech they are endowed. With Nibiru's long lifetime they are not endowed. The bread of long living he should not eat. The elixir of long life he should not drink. To live and die on earth, Adapa must return. Mortality his lot must be. By the sowing and shepherding of his offspring on earth, satiation will be. So did Enki the secret of Adapa to his father Anu reveal. By the secret message from Enki, Anu was astounded, whether to be angry or laugh, he knew not. Illibrat, his vizier, to his private chamber he summoned. To him he thus said, that son of mine, Enki, even as Enki his free ways with females has not mended, he's still doing it. To Illibrat, his vizier, the message on the tablet he showed. What are the rules? What is the king to do? Of his vizier, Anu inquired. Concubines by our rules are permitted of interplanetary cohabitation. No rules exist. So you can have a concubine, but cohabiting with other species, there's no rules about it. So did Illibrat to the king respond. If a damage there be, let it be restricted. Let Adapa forthwith to earth be returned. Let Ningishzidda and Dumuzi longer stay. So that's what the king said. Let Adapa forthwith to earth be returned. Let Ningishzidda and Dumuzi longer stay here on Nibiru.
My turn. Anu then Ningishzidda to his private chamber summoned. Know you what your father's message said? Of Ningishzidda he inquired. Ningishzidda, his head lowered, with whispering voice he said, I know not, but guess I can. The life essence of Adapa I have tested. Of Enki's seed he is. That indeed is the message, to him Anu said. Adapa to earth forthwith shall return. To be of civilized man, a progenitor, his destiny shall be. As for you, Ningishzidda, to earth with Adapa you shall return. Of civilized mankind at your father's side to become the teacher.
Read that again. That's such a powerful thing that Anu is giving this assignment to Ningishzidda.
From here? To be of civilized man, a progenitor, his destiny shall be. As for you, Ningishzidda, to earth with Adapa you shall return. Of civilized mankind at your father's side to become the teacher.
Yeah.
So did Anu, the king, the decision make. The destiny of Adapa and Ningishzidda he determined. To the assembled savants and nobles, princes and counselors, Anu and the other two returned. To the assembled words of decision, Anu announced, the welcome to the earthling must not be overextended. On our planet he cannot eat or drink. Of his astounding abilities we have all seen. Let him to earth return. Let his offspring there on earth's fields till, and in the meadows shepherd.
To ensure his safety and avoid his agitation, Ningishzidda went back with him. Back with him will travel. With him the seeds of Nibiru, of grains which will multiply to earth, will be sent. So this is a real big, they're coming back. Ningishzidda is coming back with Adapa, with grain seeds from which to make bread and beer and all kinds of things. Dumuzi, the youngest, for a shar. That means a whole rotation of Nibiru around Nemesis, its primary. So Dumuzi is going to stay with us for one of our years, which is like 3,600 Earth years, and we're going to teach him everything to do with raising animals, then to Earth with ewes and the essence of sheep, the seeds. He shall be returned.
Wow.
To be continued.
Yes, so that was big. So because they were human, part human, they didn't want them to have the elixir and the immortality. So this mystery will unfold.
I think they feared,
to this day.
You can see, they feared the hybrid vigor that is inevitable. And it's also, if you really look at the discussion in the very beginning of the tablet, where Enki is agitating to not allow these earthlings that seem to multiply so fast.
Well, you can see how they would overwhelm and take over. I mean, it's kind of like the movie The Planet of the Apes. I don't know if you ever saw that, honey, but they created intelligent apes, and then the creators of the intelligent apes were afraid that they would take over the world.
Yes, that's the same story.
So it's the same story, and so here it goes. It came forth in fiction, but that was a fictionalized story of the Anunnaki and human story, so here we are. So, if you have any final words, you can be closer to the mic.
We will next time pick up the thread as first of all Ningishzidda returns, and then Dumuzi returns, and they decide that they're going to sponsor Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel will each have be tutored in either animal husbandry or gardening, and Marduk takes a personal interest in all this, and so this whole thing between Cain and Abel that you get in an attenuated form in the Bible takes place with much, much more detail when you realize that this is part of a clan rivalry between the descendants of Enki, especially Marduk, his oldest son, and the descendants of Enlil, that's Ninurta, Enki's son, and that faction.
Oh, and here they sent back grains and the essence of
sheep
and so the essence was probably the DNA. So
yeah, that's what it was.
Some breeder pairs. It doesn't really say that, but anyway, very interesting.
No, they sent back the seeds. What they mean by that is they sent the test tube zygotes and gametes, eggs and sperms, for the geneticist Enki and his crew to work with.
I wonder what they used to carry those. What animals they used to carry the baby sheep. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time.
No, they're not sending the sheep; they're sending the essence.
Right, but how did they grow them? I wonder.